characteristics of life, and we also discussed cell theory. And one of the statements in cell theory was that every living thing is made up of cells. So cells are the fundamental units of life. And today we are going to further delve into cells and look at the fundamental units that make up cells. We are looking at the fundamental units of the fundamental units of life. Pretty cool stuff. So these fundamental units that regulate the health, the processes inside cells are known as organelles. And they, hence the name, are just very similar to the organs that we possess, like our stomachs, our livers, our kidneys. These things are essential to regulating how energy is used, processed, how we get rid of things from our body, how things come in. Essential to keep us alive and well. So today we're going to discuss inside of cells, what's going on, or a few key organelles between plant and animal cells. And you can already tell, because I'm writing up two different types of cells, that there are going to be some differences between them. So by the end of this lesson, you should also know the three key differences that we're going to be going over between plant and animal cells. So I see that you all have your notebooks open. You all have written down the objectives for today. Write down, just as always, everything that I write down on the board, and anything that you find relevant or anything that's new that you hear me say. I think it'd be important to write that down as well. So I can tell you, if you do so, your guided and independent practices are going to go much more smoothly and easily. So to begin, we have the outside of each cell. Now, the outside, the animal cell, is called the cell membrane. The cell membrane regulates what gets inside, how it gets inside, when it gets inside, what gets outside, how it gets outside, when it gets outside. So I like to think of it as border control. It maintains regulation for what can move inside and outside. Likewise, plant cell has cell membrane. Now you see that there is also something outside of the cellular membrane for the plant cell. Does anybody know what this might be? I know that you all have covered this in the past. What is this out here surrounding the cell membrane? Yeah?
It's a cell wall?
Mm-hmm. That's right, yeah. The cell wall is this added protective layer around the cell membrane. It is made up of this special sugar known as cellulose. So it further buffers things from the outside to get in, and it adds structure to the cell. So the cell is much more structured, much stronger than the animal cell due to the cell wall. This is our first key difference between plant and animal cells. So next, inside of these cells, we have something known as cytoplasm. And cytoplasm is a liquid that keeps things in place, keeps organelles in their spots inside of the cells. So if cytoplasm wasn't there, then we have all these organelles crammed together, moving around, not rooted down, glued down to their positions. So cytoplasm is essential to maintaining order inside of the cell, keeping things in place. Next, we have something called the nucleus. Now the nucleus is what I like to consider the control center of the cell. It's the control center because it regulates energy consumption, energy usage. It regulates the membranes, what they bring in, what they take out, and it regulates replication of the cell. As you recall from yesterday, we were discussing cell theory. Cells can only come from other pre-existing cells. So the nucleus is that organelle that determines when the cell is ready to replicate. So the nucleus, control center, maintains the processes, regulates the processes inside the cell. Now next, all life requires energy, right? So something known as mitochondria in both the animal and plant cells. It should be noted that mitochondria is the plural for mitochondrion. So just take away the A, add an O-N to that. So these are like our energy centers of the cell. These bring in energy, they break down energy, they create energy, all for the cell's usage. So these are essential to get the cell to keep moving, running. They are energy centers. Now, next, our second key difference between the plant and animal cells, something known as vacuoles. Now, vacuoles are our storage centers in our cells. They hold in nutrients, they hold in water, and they hold in waste. They keep the waste outside of the cytoplasm and away from the other organelles. So as you can see, the size and number of vacuoles is different between plant and animal cells. So there's one large vacuole in the plant cell and a few to many smaller vacuoles in the animal cell. And the reason for this is because plants really rely on a large vacuole to keep their structure, to stay stable. You hear that you need to water your plants or else they're going to droop, they're going to die. If a plant doesn't have enough water, then its vacuoles are going to shrink, they're going to become smaller, and the structure is going to become compromised in the plant cell. So it's got to have enough nutrients, water in there for it to expand and be large enough for the cell to maintain its structure. So that is our second key difference, and we have one final key difference and one final organelle that we're going to cover for today. Something that plant cells have that animal cells do not have. Do any of you all know what that is?
The chloroplast?
That's right, yeah. So chloroplasts do something pretty incredible. So they catch the sun's energy coming in, and they transform it into a usable kind for the plant cell. So plants utilize chloroplasts and mitochondria to get energy. Animal cells just mitochondria for energy. And as we were talking recently about food webs, food pyramids, trophic pyramids, we all rely on plant cells. We all rely on plants for our livelihoods. We all rely on producers. So if it weren't for chloroplasts, harvesting the sun's energy, transforming it into an energy that's usable for the plant cell, then we would not be around. So you got to thank chloroplasts, be thankful for them for capturing that energy, transforming it to a usable kind for the plant. So this is what you got to know for today, right here. You have these terms, you define them. We'll go over definitions still further. You've written this out. Before we step into guided practice, how about we test ourselves a bit? Tyler, what does the nucleus do?
The nucleus is the controlling unit. It determines things like reproduction of the cell.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Reproduction, energy usage, what comes in, what goes out. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, Andrew, I noticed that the vacuole is much larger in the plant cell. The animal cell has two small vacuoles, a few small vacuoles. Why might that be?
The vacuoles in the plant cell have to help the plants to keep the plant upright and also store more water for different processes.
Yeah, so it's integral, it's essential. The plant cell has a large vacuole so that it can maintain its structure. Yeah, you're right. You know, if it has a small amount of water, then it contracts, it gets smaller, the structure fails for the plant cell. Yeah, exactly right. And how about for bonus? Don't expect you all to know this. But Ben, could you tell me what the cell wall is made up of? It's a type of sugar.
I believe it's cellulose.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, good job. Well done. You all have copied this down. I'm going to go ahead and erase this and give you 2 minutes to look over your notes before we start guided practice.